commentary.
We are jumping into a short but, incredibly potent text called When Families Collapse into Proxy Wars.
It's a heavy title, but it is so necessary.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the goal today isn't just to gossip about, general family drama.
Yeah.
We want to really dissect the exact anatomy of how a tiny, two-person dispute acts almost like a virus.
A virus is a great way to describe it, actually.
Yeah, because it pulls everyone else in and just permanently fractures these family structures.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's unpack this. Because disputes are, they're as old as human society itself.
Sure, since the dawn of time, right.
Exactly. But why do some families survive these blowouts while others just completely shatter?
Well, the core thesis of the text we're looking at is that the danger isn't actually the argument itself. Yeah, not at all. The argument is just a spark. The real danger, the thing that burns the whole system down, is the spread of what the text calls information bias.
Information bias. Okay.
Oh.
That sounds a little clinical, I guess.
It does, but it plays out in these incredibly messy, deeply emotional ways right in our living rooms or, our group chats.
Oh, man, the family group chat, the absolute worst place for this.
Exactly. So to understand this, we have to look at how the brain processes conflict. When two people argue, it is completely natural that they experience the event through their own personal lens.
Right. You center your own feelings.
You do. Your ego, your adrenaline, it all colors the reality of what just happened. But the text makes it very clear that the subjective lens alone isn't actually dangerous.
Because it's just human nature. Right. You see it your way, they see it their way.
Precisely. The real damage, the actual catalyst for family destruction, initiates at a very specific moment.
Which is when?
It's the exact second the conflict leaves the original two people, the moment someone seeks an ally.
Oh, well. Okay, so moving from the general concept to this very specific trigger.
Yes.
It makes me think of an analogy. It's like switching from being an investigative journalist who's just trying to find the objective truth to suddenly being a defense attorney trying to win over a jury.
That is a perfect way to frame it because the entire function of the communication shifts.
Right, because the text says the purpose shifts from understanding to persuading. But for the listener, what does this actually look like in real life? Like when a family member calls you just to vent, quote unquote.
What's fascinating here is that this shift to persuasion is often incredibly subtle.
Subtle how?
Well, the person seeking allies usually isn't being maliciously calculating, They aren't rubbing their hands together plotting to destroy the family.
They're just hurt.
Exactly. They feel insecure, they feel threatened, and they are seeking validation. But in doing so, they change the entire dynamic of the conversation.
Because they need you to take their side.
Right. They need tribal consensus. They need someone they love to look at them and say, you are right to feel this way.
And to get that, to win over the jury, they can't just present a neutral set of facts.
Yes.
Which naturally leads us to how they actually achieve this persuasion.
Yes. The echo chamber.
The text has this incredibly powerful phrasing for this. It says, stories become selective. Emotions leak into facts.
I love that phrase. Emotions leak into facts.
It's so vivid. It means the details are framed by the storyteller purely to justify their position. Right?
Yeah.
Rather than to actually clarify what happened.
Exactly. The brain naturally curates the details. They'll tell you about the terrible things the other person said.
But completely leave out the fact that they were screaming first.
Right. They edit out their own provocations entirely.
And the consequence is that the other family members, the listeners, we absorb this completely distorted version of the story, and we become emotionally invested in it.
You draft them into a proxy war.
Yes. And one side of the conflict is just immediately cast as the villain without ever being given a single chance to speak.
Which is incredibly unfair, but it happens so instinctively because we love our family members.
But wait, I have to push back on this a little bit.
Sure, go ahead.
Because practically speaking, if someone I love, like my brother, is hurting and calls me in tears, it feels deeply, deeply unnatural to say, hey, hold on, I need to cross-examine the other side before he can comfort you.
Of course it does.
It feels cold.
Oh.
So how does the text suggest we reconcile our natural empathy with the danger of buying into this, villain narrative?
It's a great question, and it's the ultimate trap of family dynamics. The text explicitly warns about the absent villain effect.
The absent villain, meaning the person who isn't on the phone.
Exactly. Empathy is totally fine. It is vital, actually. You can and should say, I hear how much pain you're in, and I'm so sorry.
Right. Validating the feeling.
But the text warns against letting your own emotions get hijacked by someone else's selectively framed details.
Ah, I see.
You can validate their emotional reality without validating their skewed factual narrative of the person who isn't in the room.
So empathy without alignment.
Empathy without picking up a weapon and joining their war, yes.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. But let's say the family doesn't do that. Let's say the wider family gets emotionally invested. They buy the villain narrative. What happens the next time the whole family is physically in the same room? Like at Thanksgiving dinner?
Well, this brings us to the concept of the cognitive filter. Once this bias is implanted in the family members...
Once they've picked a side.
Exactly. Once they've picked a side, every single subsequent interaction is viewed exclusively through that contaminated lens.
Oh, wow. So nothing is neutral anymore.
Nothing. Neutral actions are suddenly interpreted as actively hostile. Minor incidents are massively, almost absurdly inflated. The conflict has officially outgrown its original boundaries.
You know what it reminds me of? It's like watching a movie where you've been told early on that a character is a secret assassin.
Oh, I like this.
Right, so suddenly there's a scene of them just quietly standing in a kitchen, pouring a cup of coffee. And because of the filter, it looks incredibly suspicious and menacing.
You're overanalyzing everything they do.
Exactly. You're thinking, why are they pouring it so slowly? What did they slip in the mug? But in reality, they're literally just pouring coffee.
Yes. The filter completely warps reality. Someone sighing at the table or being 5 minutes late.
Which is normally just daily life stuff.
It becomes undeniable proof that they are disrespecting the family.
And here's where it gets really interesting and honestly kind of tragic. The family is now actively fracturing itself under the weight of a dispute that, as the text notes, really only ever belonged to two people.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is exactly how proxy wars become entirely self-sustaining.
The original spark doesn't even matter.
It doesn't matter at all. The original two people might have even forgotten what they initially fought about.
It was probably about like a borrowed lawnmower or something ridiculous.
Usually it is. But the new inflated incidents keep the war going. The relatives are now fighting with each other over the tone someone used when asking to pass the salt.
It's a runaway train.
Yeah.
So, okay, given how destructive and impossible to break this filter is once it starts, how do we stop it?
Right, the million-dollar question. The text proposes a very specific solution. It outlines a strict containment strategy.
Containment, like dealing with a biological hazard.
Exactly like that. The only reliable way to stop the escalation is to force the conflict to remain absolutely at its source.
Meaning the original two people who fought.
Yes. They must confront the issue directly, no intermediaries, no venting to siblings, and absolutely no audience.
Because an audience provides the oxygen for the fire.
Precisely. And the text acknowledges that when you force this containment, there are really only two outcomes.
Okay, what's the first one?
The first is that they actually hash it out. Without a proxy army backing them up, they are forced into accountability, they communicate, and they resolve it.
Which is the ideal scenario.
It is. But we know that's not always possible.
Right. So what's the second outcome?
The second outcome is that they choose distance. They realize they can't resolve it, their relationship is too toxic, and they create a permanent boundary.
Man, that's a really harsh, unromantic reality to accept, isn't it?
It is incredibly painful.
Because the text is basically saying that permanent distance between two relatives, maybe two brothers or a mother and daughter, might be the necessary, agonizing price to save the wider family structure.
It's a math problem, essentially. Both outcomes are painful. But the localized pain of those two people creating distance is vastly preferable to a family-wide proxy war that destroys everything.
It really makes me think of the closing quote from the text. It's from the philosopher Michel de Montaigne. He said, "Nothing inflames a quarrel so much as it's being carried to others."
It's brilliant, and he wrote that centuries ago, way before group texts were a thing.
Human nature hasn't changed. Carrying the quarrel to others is the fuel. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Because the text explicitly says that protecting the family means refusing to participate in the war at all.
Right. You have to opt out.
But how much discipline does it actually take to literally walk away from a family fight? Because the pressure to engage is huge.
The social pressure is monumental. But what the text argues is that refusing to participate isn't cowardice.
People definitely view it as apathy, though. Like, you don't care about me?
They absolutely will accuse you of that. But it's not apathy. According to the psychological framework we've been discussing, non-participation is actually a highly active protective measure for the family's survival.
You are acting as the firebreak.
Exactly. You are starving the fire of the oxygen it needs to spread.
Even if the person who called you is kicking and screaming and calling you a bad sibling for not taking their side.
You take on their temporary anger to preserve the structural integrity of the whole family. It is the ultimate high road.
Wow. Okay, so to wrap up this deep dive, we've gone on quite a journey here.
We really have.
We started with the initial spark of information bias and that dangerous moment of seeking an ally.
Then the leakage of emotions into facts.
Yes, the echo chamber. And then that toxic cognitive filter that inflates totally neutral, minor incidents into acts of war.
All leading to the necessity of the containment strategy.
Right. So learner, the next time your phone buzzes and you feel that familiar, sinking urge to take sides in a family text thread, I really want you to remember Montaigne's warning. Do not carry the quarrel to others.
Don't be the accelerant.
Exactly. Don't be the fuel. And I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, building on everything we just unpacked.
Okay, let's hear it.
If refusing to participate is truly the best way to save the family, does our very definition of family loyalty need to evolve?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Because, we usually think of loyalty as rushing to defend a relative who feels wronged. We think of it as picking up a sword for them.
Right, the proxy soldier.
But maybe true loyalty is actually having the iron discipline to let them fight their own battles, so the family tree doesn't burn down with them.
That is a powerful reframing.
Something to think about the next time the group chat goes off. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.